Hello my friends and welcome to part 2 of the versus event for the light and dark groups. Okay, so something I realized was that even if you're playing in the light group, that doesn't mean you won't necessarily face off against light people, like people also in light group, and and vice versa. And if you're in dark, you can also face off against other dark decks, which for one thing, that's kind of strange, but for another, that makes the charmer links actually a lot better and a lot more worth playing, because that means you'll still be able to at least occasionally have targets for them. So you'll be able to still steal monsters from the opponent's graveyard as long as you're facing off against another person of the same attribute as you. So that's pretty cool. But before I get into the other news, I can show you this. Just new missions. Before I get into the other news, please like, share, and subscribe, and consider ringing that notification bell for either the content you like the most by selecting the bell and selecting personalize, all my content by selecting the bell and selecting all, or none of my content by selecting the bell and selecting none. Right now it's just Master Duel, so if you're really into Master Duel, maybe it doesn't matter that you select all. But if you're into a different game, maybe I'll get into that later, because I'm not going to be on Master Duel forever, I can tell you that. Eventually I'm going to be finished. Like, I got all the achievements, which is good, so I don't have to worry about those. But I still want to complete all of the gates, and I'll eventually be to a point where all of the gates showing up right now are done. Maybe if people want me to, I can show off the new gates when those come, or I can just stop and play some new games, like of course one at a time. Because like even if I'm not even if I don't have the even without the PlayStation Plus, which I can get back if enough people want me to get it back, but even without that, there's still a ton of like free games from the App Store that I can play, that I can show off. There's games that I own that I can show off. I have a few games I own, so that's good. I'm probably gonna next game I play is probably gonna be that SpongeBob game, so I'm finally gonna show off that, the Cosmic Shake. So anyway, let's get into, I'll talk a little bit about the additional missions. So not much like to talk about, so I'm just more showing it off. Oh yeah, here's some of the additional missions. So win a duel and destroy a card. You do it 10 times and you win those. So pretty easy additional missions. And then a Forbidden Limitless update that's coming. So wow, Rongo Minion is getting banned. Wow, it must be too strong even without the cards that made it broken, because what card got banned before that made it broken? Oh, I think something from the Phantom Knights. And that's kind of weird that it's going up a little bit without me pushing it. Oh well, it should be fine. Agido the Ancient Sentinel, so they are banning some of those cards. Not a ton, but at least one of them. So T elements get a little bit less strong. And then Phantasmal Lord Ultimato Bishbalkin. I don't know what that is. Phantasmal Lord. Here, I'll see what that is, because I don't even know what the Phantasmal Lord is. And that, but I know Block Dragon mostly use an Adamantipator, so Adamantipator's taking a little bit of a hit. That'll still probably be pretty good. I think there's still they can still be good without Block Dragon. But yeah, that's a lot of consistency that's taken away. And then Telements Merly. Telements are probably still going to be pretty good after this. Because, like, I mean, the other cards from the... Like, the other cards that go along with a Guido aren't banned. Like, the Cowback and all those. And then the other Telements haven't been banned. Which one is Merly? I think Merly is the one... Yeah, I'll get a better look at those. Is Agido the one that I think Agido is probably one of the Millers, if I would have to guess. And the Rongaminian is just, yeah, it's probably for the best that's banned, because there could be another warrior based archetype that just breaks it, so it's probably for the best that got banned anyway. Yeah, and then after I like talk about this, I think I'll show off a few of the ones that got banned that I forget about. Oh, looks like Cowback got limited instead of banned. Okay, so they did hit another one of them. And then Brandon Fusion. So now Brandon is a little bit less powerful. Grasslook Screener. So now those like 60 card decks basically take a hit. Man, they have to limit Sprite Jet and Swap Frog, like. But I mean, maybe if they're planning to bring back, if they're planning to bring back Totally Awesome eventually, that would be nice. They're limiting all of those. Wow. I'm sure my deck will still probably be pretty good. Like, at least Blue didn't get hit. Anyway, cards to be semi-limited. So, like, Blaster and Luster were already semi-limited. Power of Extravagance is a new one. I don't really run Power of Extravagance very much. Power of Prosperity is limited. So now you could play 2 Extravagance and 1 Prosperity. So can kind of make up for the only 2 Extravagance, but still less consistent. Because you would have, like, run 3 Extravagance and 1 Prosperity in those kinds of decks if you wanted to. I mean, I guess semi-limited, not too bad, because there's probably quite a few decks that really just Power of Extravagance, definitely not as much reason to not just run 3 of it, because it's not like dwindling your deck at all, your actual deck at all. And it's not like if you run out of cards in the X deck that you suddenly lose, because you don't draw the X deck, you draw the deck. So yeah, that's probably a fairly big hit, but probably fine. I think a lot of these, like, the ones that got the most major are probably the Telements, because that Grasslook Screener, like, Telements definitely wanted to run that card as well. Even, like, Brandon kind of takes a hit with that Grasslook Screener hit, because, like, Branded sometimes would mesh with the Grasslook Screener mill style with the Cowback and Agido. So, like, a lot of... So definitely with all those combined, Brandon and Telements probably taking the biggest hit. And that's so weird. It's going up, and I'm not looking. I might have to get a new controller at some point. I've had this for a while though, so like if I have to, it's probably fine. I think it's starting to drift a little bit. Oh yeah, speaking of which, for those of you who don't know, unlike Nintendo, PlayStation will not PlayStation has a lot more strict rules about how you can like send in controllers and get them replaced for free. You basically like it has to be under the warranty. You have to because I tried getting a random controller from like a flea market or whatever it was, and it didn't work because I didn't have the receipt. So you need the receipt. It had to have been within a year. You have to send in within a year, or else they won't like, or else you basically have to just buy a new one, which really stinks. Yeah, that really stinks. And so buying used controllers like also may not be the best. You might just want to buy a new controller even though it costs more. Because I tried that with that flea market and of course it drifted right away. There was already drift on it. I mean, maybe if you can get a controller that's used that like is reported to not have any drift at all whatsoever, then. But like I think it's still better to just try to get new. And sometimes you can like go to somewhere like GameStop, and occasionally they have clearance sales, even on controllers that have never been used, which is pretty cool. Doesn't happen a lot, but like maybe you can get lucky, find a sale or something like that. Anyway, yeah, maybe I'll just keep it for now. It's not that big of a deal since like this probably isn't my main system that I use. Like, I tend to go, like, lean more towards the Xbox for when I'm just, like, playing just more casually. And, like, fortunately for my Xbox, the controller seems to still be pretty good. So that's good. Anyway, let's go to the loan index because I gotta get through the I'm gonna try to get through all of the loan index for the event today, which it's a little bit more because like I have 3 from each side, from the dark and the light. I'm gonna try to get through all, starting with the dark decks. So I'll try to just rush through them, and then if I have time, I can talk a little bit more about the decks that I like eventually settled on for like light and darks, and as well as a few other decks that you could like think about running as well. And I do have a few deck examples for each. So first of all, this is the first loner deck. It's Inzektor. Oh yeah, and these are also ideas you can run with, like. Of course, maybe just get rid of a few cards to like for other cards that are a little bit more competitive. But yeah, these should at least give you ideas. So, the Power of Insectoid Synchronicity is what it's called, and the deck description reads: most Inzektor monsters have effects that allow them to equip other Inzektor monsters as equip cards. Among them, Inzektor Dragonfly has a powerful effect that can special summon an Inzektor monster from the deck when its equipped card is sent to the graveyard, combining with the Inzektor Hornet, which has an effect that destroys a card on the field to deploy monsters in quick succession. Yeah, like a lot of these have effects that allow you to equip Inzektors themselves to make it easy for you to like have Inzektors equipped, and a few of these both have an effect that allows you to unequip Inzektors, attach them, or I mean, do they? No. The when the tree has equipped cards, they usually have ways of sending themselves to the graveyard, which could both trigger their effect when they're detached when they're sent to the graveyard as an equip, and the monster itself that has an effect when an equipped card is sent to your graveyard. I mean, not all monsters will work that way, but like a few of the good ones work that way. Like and a lot of them do have effects that like either you're equipping an Inzektor monster from your hand to the graveyard, or you're equipping a monster from your, or you can, or it maybe has an effect that like where they equip themselves to a monster while they're in the hand. Anyway, Inzektor Firefly allows you to look at all sets, so when you have an equip, which could be handy if your opponent's running a bunch of traps. Probably pretty good against Labyrinth, but I mean, it's not actually destroying, so I'm not exactly sure how useful that is. But I guess, like, you can, like, maybe play around the stuff. Or, like, you know, which ones you need to bait out. And then Ladybug is another one that allows you to equip a card to its, from the hand or graveyard. And then this one. And then even the ones that have like a little bit lesser effects when they send themselves an equip card to the graveyard, you don't really need to worry about that too much. Because as long as you're getting a good effect from the monster that like gets an effect whenever an equip card is sent to the graveyard. Like, this one's pretty good though. Since it actually destroys something. That's why there's 3 of it. It doesn't have an effect when, this is probably better used as an equip card because, like, this doesn't actually have an effect that it gets when an equip card attached to it is sent to a graveyard. So I don't know if, like, some of these have, like, both effects. Some of these just have, like, static effects, and maybe some of these have both. This one, and some of them just like help increase levels, increase attack and defense. Increasing levels is pretty good because it can help you go into other synchros or exceeds, which you do definitely have a few of. And then Inzektor Dragonfly, special summons Inzektor. That's another good one because it special summons it from the deck. And then Inzektor Hopper allows the monster it was equipped to attack directly. And it's pretty nice that a few of these have ways of like sending themselves to the graveyard. Because it makes it a lot easier to like trigger the effects of stuff like Dragonfly or Centipede. That searches. That's another good one. It searches. Earwig. Yeah, I think generally if one of their effects is going to be powerful, like the other one is like less powerful, like just as a trade-off. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Inzektor Earwig. Yeah, another one that allows you to equip something to it. Yeah, for the ones that don't really have much when you're equipping something to it, you probably want to go for like Hornet in that case. You probably want to go for Hornet in a lot of cases either way. Unless your opponent, you don't really need to destroy stuff on your opponent's field. I think most of the time you're probably going to want to use Hornet as an equip. Because even though you, like, it doesn't actually give you like, I mean, it does give you stats, so that's... May not give you the best stats, because it's only 500 attack to an defense, but it does have the ability to destroy, and that's probably a lot better anyway, than, like, just, like, getting a little bit of stats. I would think, anyway. And then Inzektor Giga Cricket. So this requires you to basically banish resources in order to do it, so not as good, but it does give the monster piercing plus and plus 2000 attack, and also I believe like these actually stack, so if you have more than one equipped, but you do have to be careful like when you're stacking like equip abilities, because if you place this on to give it 2000 attack and then place this on it afterwards, if you don't do this first and then do this, like, then it just makes the monster go down to 2400 attack, whereas if you did in the different order, it would go up to 2400 attack first and then it would gain an additional 2000 attack. Yeah, so like this one also probably not as good since like you probably don't care as much about giving something extra defense. But it does allow you to recur monsters from the graveyard, so it actually has a pretty good so it's probably more useful to just try to send to graveyards so that you can get that recursion ability. And then you got a few destruction based abilities. Oh yeah, the few weaknesses for this deck. Maybe I mean, would Hoppy's Feather Duster be in a weakness for this deck? I mean, you still get the abilities. You just want. Nah, probably fine because you're probably using them well before your opponent uses like back row destruction anyway. Allure of Darkness, extra draw. This is probably a really good card to just play like in general, just because like since you're playing like dark decks, except for maybe like Labyrinth, since maybe not playing the most darks in Labyrinth. I don't know. It's generally a pretty good card when you're using dark decks though. Even if like your monsters don't get advantage from being banished. Armor Blast. Yeah, just more destruction. This is also pretty nice because it can be another way to get your equip cards sent to the graveyard, especially for maybe the ones that don't necessarily have a way to send themselves to the graveyard. Final Inzection. Yeah, like basically just another way of getting your stuff into the graveyard, especially the equips. It's kind of difficult, but you do get to destroy all cards your opponent controls, so. And better yet, like, you can basically ensure that you can get in for maybe a bunch of damage because your opponent can't activate monster effects during the battle phase. So maybe if you're planning to go straight to battle, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's only done in battle phase. That does kind of stink, but still, like, yeah, it's probably worth playing one of that. Like, seems like a pretty good card. Yeah, I may only be able to get through the light side, but that's okay. I can always do the other ones later on. Yeah, this is another way to equip stuff to your Inzektors if you need to. Also a way to trigger the, like, to get rid of your equipped Inzektor cards. And then you have a few like spell equips. And these don't necessarily have ways of saying themselves, so it's especially nice to have to be able to like send them with a few of the other spells. And then Cocoon, yeah, like this is good since the Inzektors are insects. Yeah, and you definitely are playing equips, like since your monsters that are equipped do count as equips. I mean, the monsters that equip themselves to a monster, they count as equips. Hopefully you get what I'm saying there. Another way to equip stuff to your monsters. Okay. I guess you equip an opponent's monster to the target. Which is good since it doesn't have to be one of your Inzektors being sent to the graveyard. You'll still get the effect either way. Inzektor Gauntlet. It can be treated as an equip card. infinite impermanence, negation, variable form. Yeah, like another way to... So you have plenty of ways of getting equips on, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. And this definitely works pretty well because it also can give you... can equip stuff. And then the exceeds can allow you to equip stuff too. And then you're playing like rank 4s and rank 5s because you can increase levels, so you're playing like somewhat different ranks because you should be able to go into them. And then Chaos Angels, again, pretty cool because like you don't even need tuners, just I mean you don't have a dark, a light, so that kind of stinks. So you basically just have to go into it the normal way. Oh wait, no. You can treat one of your darks. So it won't be able to get the light base effect, which kind of stinks, but I mean, it's still not bad. It still won't, will allow your monsters to be protected from being sort of bow. And then IP for being able to go into links on the opponent's turn. Probably best used with unicorns so you can get that spin during the opponent's turn. Bolo to steal stuff. Also minus attack defense a little bit. Which is good paired with monsters that gain higher attacks because of their equips. And then Bow Sword can be basically an OTK enabler as long as your opponent has the right board setup, kind of. You can just attack with the monster you're putting in defense first anyway. And then you can just place in defense, so this gains an extra attack. And then Azalea. Or like maybe if you have a way of dealing piercing with one of your monsters, you could just like place a monster in defense so you can get piercing in, and then also like get an extra attack with this guy. And then Azalea, like it's kind of important that maybe make sure you want to try to have 3 or more at least 4 spells, which probably won't be too hard, or else it'll just be sent to a graveyard, which maybe in a pinch you would be willing to still get a destruction for, but I think usually you probably don't want to. But at least after that, like you can banish spells and you don't have to worry about this sending itself to a graveyard, because it's only when it's special summon does it check the number of spells. Okay, well, there's the first one. Here's the next one, the Thief of Time. Yeah, see, because you're also allowed to play Redoer, Telements are probably a pretty good dark deck for this event. Just want to put that out there. Because because you're still able to use Redoer with them. Probably one of their best. Unfortunately, you aren't able to play Abyss Dweller. So that kind of stinks a little bit. But you're still also able to utilize the dangers. I'm not sure about the like Kelbeck and stuff, but at least the dangers you're still also able to use as well. Anyway, speaking of Time Thieves, this is called the Thief of Time. The deck description reads, Time Thief Redoer can activate different effects depending on the type of Exceed material it removes. In addition to its own effect of attaching the top of the opponent's deck as an Exceed material in standby phase, Time Thief Perpetua can attach Exceed materials from various locations so you can apply the effects of Time Thief Redoer according to the situation, keeping track of not only the present but also the past and future. Your road to victory will be slow, but a steady one. Yeah, I think the cool thing about Time Thieves is that like they can constantly Like the exceeds will constantly give themselves more materials. So even for like a few of these effects that have you detaching materials from exceed monster, that should generally not be like such a bad thing, because you're just gonna be able to like attach material to them back anyway. So this is a searcher. This allows you to special summon itself from the graveyard. This just special summons 2 from the deck, so allowing you to make sure you can go into an exceed right away. So this is probably a pretty good one to maybe search off of the winder, maybe as like a backup. If your opponent like destroyed your monsters, you still have a way to go into exceed without any monsters. Rokket, Tracer, special summons Rokket from the deck, so you do have a few Rockets for that. Not sure if any of these like really gain effects from being destroyed, besides maybe the, not sure about the Rockets, but so, but like, I mean, still, like, I mean, if it's like a bad level, maybe you can get rid of it for like a different. But I think these are all level 4s, so yeah, these are all level 4s, so you shouldn't really have any like. So if you have a monster, like, I guess it's still good to get like, if you're going to be using it for an exceed play anyway, might as well just destroy, so you can get one of your other monsters just to help thin out your deck a little bit. But I suppose like it would work pretty well if you also have this in your hand on the field to like, and then you can like destroy it with the tracer to trigger the recharger effect. And then this one can protect you from battle, while also being another one that can special summon itself. Adjuster can special summon itself when you normal special summon a time thief, so it can like also help you go like set up your exceed plays. This can help you temporarily get rid of a problem that your opponent has, maybe like bait out and negate. Rokket Caliber, yeah, it can just special summon itself, but you have to have a dark monster out. Oh yeah, access code, I don't know if it's as good, because you'll always only be able to get one destruction because you're only playing darks. And this kind of works better when you're playing a lot of different attributes. So you're probably only really going to get one destruction unless you somehow like steal one of your opponent's like maybe light attribute monsters, and then maybe you can get 2 destructions. And like you banish their light link too, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, like still like, I mean, it's still pretty good for getting all of that attack, and then like if you only really need to clear the field of 1 card anyway, I mean that can still be like something you can go into if like but like you but you probably don't want to rely on its like destruction based effect too much. Probably just make sure the field is cleared except for like 1 card, and then you can get rid of that last card, and then you can still maybe get in for game. Raigeki, yeah, and then Hoppies is, they seem to really like putting these in, but I mean they're good cards. Oh yeah, you got the boot sector launch with the striker to search it, so that's good. This is like an automatic way, since all of your rockets are level 4, to help set up exceed plays. Time Thief Hack can help protect your exceeds and also give them extra attack. Quick Launch is another way to special summon a rocket, so that can be one of the summons, and then you can use a normal summon on another level 4, so that can be another way to set up for link plays, I mean exceed plays. You could also go for link plays, but I think it's probably most of the time. I mean, like Striker is pretty good just to get the boot sector launch, and then you can go for an exceed play after if you have like 2 rockets in your hand still. or maybe if your opponent has a lot of monsters. But otherwise, you might be better off just going for the exceeds and like most of the time going for the actual Time Thief exceeds, since like this deck works pretty well with those. And especially Redoer. Redoer is probably the best one, since like it has a way of like being able to like dodge destruction, steal resources from your opponent's deck, and could potentially get some other good effects too. Yeah. And then here's some of the others. I mean, this one also like has a few, like this has a steal an opponent's monster, which is kind of cool, or negate the effects of one monster. It doesn't have a way to like dodge destruction, which is kind of sad. Yeah, and then Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine can basically ensure that you get the trap effects of stuff like Double Barrel or Redoer. And then Infinite Impermanence is more negation, Time Thief flyback. This can be a way of like giving your Time Thieves that want like different types of cards on them another way to get those different types of cards. Holotea can also be a way, like, and generally the trap effects of these monsters are probably some of the best anyway, like placing, like spinning, placing a card that your opponent controls on the top of the deck, or negating an effect monster. And these are both like basically quick effects anyway, so that's pretty nice. And then Retrograde is basically negation, more negation. And this is another reason why you may want like to make sure you have a Time Thief Exceed, because it requires one. And then Bulload is like, these are just some synchros if you want to go into them, since I guess you do have a few tuners. Yeah, and then some of the Rockets. This is more negation, and this can help get cards into your graveyard, since a few of your cards do have graveyard effects. And then Steel Swarm Roach can help against decks that have a lot of high-level monsters. This can be pretty good against Labyrinth, I guess, maybe, since it can negate like Labyrinth special summons. But I'm not sure like how, like, I mean, it's good to have it though, since you don't need to go into it if you don't feel the need to. But if you do, you have it. And then X Charge. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be able to get through all 6, but that's okay. I can just get through the best in the next video. This can be another way of like special summoning back some monsters to go into further exceed plays maybe later on. Yeah, this can be a way to get back your exceed. So yeah, this is definitely one you want to go in like after you already have some exceeds into the graveyard. Also, like, you get to like give another one of your exceeds higher attack. And then here's some of the links, which you may not be going into as much, but here they are if you want to. I think these like these two are mainly used to help you go into your exceed, to help extend into like your exceed plays. And then IP, and once again the IP and Unicorn might as well, like, because like in case you want like it's a way to get disruption, and it's a way to make sure you can keep a monster even through a Raigeki, because it makes the monster it special summons undestructible basically. And then Access Code. is one that is better to go into during your turn, because you can't even use this effect during the opponent's turn, except for its attacking effect, but usually you're probably going to want to get its destruction effect off. And it's just nice because the opponent can't respond to them. So at least if you're only destroying one, like you're basically making sure that they can't activate it, unless they do it ahead of time. And then here's the last one. This one looks like, oh, this one might be the, I don't know. Wonder if this one was the Machina deck I faced off against, Machina Orcust. This might have been the loner deck, actually, because I remember facing off of a deck that used Machinas and Orcust. And then this one's called Light-Vanquishing Machines of Shadow. And the deck description reads: a deck based around dark machine type monsters. It employs many monsters that play monsters from the hand or graveyard. Allows you to call forth powerful monsters according to the situation. In particular, Ally of Justice, Decisive Armor, is a powerful monster with high attack that can use 3 different effects when there's a light monster on the opponent's field. Utilize synchro summons and attack at the opportune moment. Yeah, so this is fairly big into sync summoning, but also like it's pretty big into link summoning as well. And then you're pretty much you're bring out Dengetsu through the use of like using a link as material. And then this is a better one to bring out when your opponent actually has a card to send to graveyard. I would think, so you can actually like get that effect. But although you could still use the second effect if you're going first and you happen to go into this. And then of course Orcust are pretty good since they have graveyard effects, and they work even better with the Babel since these just turn them into quick effects, which also can make it into a little bit of a complicated deck, since now like you're having to think like now like turning them into quick effects could make it a little bit more complicated, but it also makes them a lot better too. Yeah, and then this also allows you to pull off the link monsters as quick effects as well, which is also pretty cool. And then, yeah, you also are playing a few allies, which doesn't work as well if you're playing against a dark. This would have been nice if you were guaranteed to only play against light opponents if you were playing a dark based deck, but since there's also a chance you could be facing dark opponents, and maybe there's a better chance since dark seems to be the more popular choice, then like this may not be as good because you may not necessarily always be able to get it. Although I guess there's kind of like maybe around 50-50 chance that like this could be good. So when it is, it could be really good, but if not, maybe it's not even worth summoning. And then Plague Spreader can be like can special summon itself. Assault. This is a really good tuner for the event, I would think, since you can just special summon from your hand. And if you're not really caring about going into links, then like you can just go into synchros instead. Though you do basically have to make your choice, like because like it's not for the rest of the turn. So you basically have to commit to only sync summoning that turn, which isn't too bad since you have a few good synchros. Ally of Justice Psycho Reader. Yeah, see like a few of these, they just aren't as good if your opponent's not playing a light deck, which could happen. Genex Ally Birdman is another tuner that can basically just special summon itself. Though you do have to return another one of your face-up monsters you control to hand. Unfortunately, it's not a quick effect, so you can't use it as a way to like return to hand to like, get out of danger. Though if it's yeah, no, you won't be able to do a response to something because it's not a quick effect. Orcust symbol skeleton can banish itself from the graveyard to special summon another Orcust from the graveyard. This one special summons from the hand. They probably should have gone for 3 Harpors, to be honest, because this is like probably the best one since special summons an Orcust from the deck. But whatever. This can be a way to either get some of your docks into the graveyard, although I'm not sure how many good level 5 or higher docks you have. I mean, you do have a few, so. And also it can like help get your Orcust or your other graveyard effect cards into the graveyard. And then Gyasu, it can be a way to just mill off your Harpor, which is pretty cool. Gyasu is another way to mill off your Orcust or World Legacy cards which have graveyard effects. Machina possess storage can be like, and then you can like also make sure you have like Machinas in the graveyard so that you can like special summon them out. Yeah. I'm not sure how often you'll be adding this to your hand except by drawing it, but if you do, you get to special summon it, so that's pretty cool. And then you can just send the possess storage, although I don't think this really have it's a graveyard effect. Oh wait, no, you send the ruin force, that's right, so you can like have it in the graveyard so you can like special summon it later on. And then Orcust Nightmare, yeah, like another way to send off your other cards that have graveyard effects. Ally of Justice, Cosmic Gateway, again, really good if your opponent actually is playing lights, but that's not always a guarantee. World Legacy, World Wand. Yeah, it's like another one that has a graveyard effect. See, like pretty much all of the high attack monsters are probably gonna be wanting to be in the graveyard anyway, so just discarding them is actually an upside. Hoppy's Feather Duster. Getting rid of backroads. Actually, they're not using Raigeki, so that's only one allure. Interesting. But you do have Orchestrated Return as another way to draw. Actually, you might just want it. If you were playing this yourself, you might just run Orchestrated Return, because like having them in the graveyard is a lot better. And also for that reason, like Dimension Shifter can be like a really good way to like kind of turn this deck off, or like especially like more opponent banish stuff. Like it's gonna be kind of annoying, like Dimensional Fisher or Macrocosmos. Anyway, Foolish Burial, yeah, another way to get some of your graveyard effects into graveyard effect monsters. Machinery Deployment, another way to add up your Machinas. You don't have a ton of other Machina cards, so this probably will just add up your... I think you're only gonna be able to like add your monsters. And then Orchestrated Battle, like I kind of talked about that already. Einsatz can be another way to mill your stuff. Negation and more negation. This is pretty good because you can also search for this. This one can like search your Orcust spells and traps. You probably want to go for the Babel first just to be able to get those quick effects online. But then you can also do the Orcust Crescendo, because it also has a pretty good graveyard effect as well. The negation is also a good one, but probably want to go for the Babel first. And then you got a few synchros. Another one where like only good if you also if you're facing off against a light decks. It's not bad though, like 2200 attacks, but it's definitely a lot better. So but this is a lot better to play anyway. Like Catastrophe is a lot better to play anyway, because you don't have to go into it if you're not facing against if you're facing against another dark deck. And then Dark Dimension Soldier can be a way of recurring a banished dark, so they can get back into the graveyard again. So that's probably actually a pretty good one to run anyway. Negation, more negation. Extra attacks maybe. Dark Strike Fighter, a way to maybe get monsters into the graveyard if you wanted to. Also like inflicting burn damage, but it's not that important, probably not as. And then just stealing monsters is pretty good. This is another one that might be like worth playing for this event, because you don't have to go into it if your opponent's not playing a light base deck. But since there's at least some chance of like facing off against an all light deck, like this is worth playing against those decks, and then bring out whenever you see that. Chaos Angel, but you probably just don't want to bring out willy-nilly since you don't know if they're gonna be having that or not. And then Chaos Angel, once again, you can only get stock unless you steal one of your opponent's lights, so maybe you can do that if you really want to. Most of the time you're probably just going with the dark one, but at least you also get to like ban something too when special summon. This one sends something and can be easily gone into just by using Orcust Link, which is how you're going to be doing it, because you probably don't want to use your level 8s anyway to go into it. I mean, you technically do have a few level 8s, but probably just going for it with the Orcust Link. Link Rebo. Yes, you do have a few level 1s. Like, oh yeah, this is a good way to get your Orcust Brass Bombard into the graveyard, at least. Galatea. So it's a good one to have just in case. Galatea, this one's really good since it sets an Orcust Spell Trap, and since it sets it directly, like you don't have to worry about Ash Blossom. You don't have to worry about Ash Blossom anyway, because there's no fires and it's a fire, I discovered. But I guess that's like, I don't know. Once again, the IP unicorn combo, but you could also just do IP into Dingirsa as long as you're also using an Orcust, technically. Which could also be pretty good. Barricade Board can help get back your continuous spells or field spells, which they're both pretty good anyway, so that's Unicorn, kind of talked about that. And then Longirsu can send monsters to the graveyard, or Custrian, like you can also go into this during your opponent's turn with the IP. So maybe IP is a little bit better in this deck since there's a few extras. I mean, most of the time you may want to go for Unicorn, but sometimes you can also go for a few of these guys too. And then this one can also like help get back your banished machines, shuffle them back into the deck, and then you can like mill them off like through various effects later on. And also just like lower attack of a few of your opponent's monsters, as well as negating them. So this might be a pretty good thing to surprise the opponent with by going into it using the IP strategy. and then just putting in the zone where it's gonna like be linked to the most amount of opponents' monsters. Anyway, those are the 3 decks. I'm probably just gonna quickly talk about what other decks you can use. I'll show off my deck a little bit real quick so you can take a look at that. A few other decks you can use are probably Telements, not bad. Any Danger Dark World is a good one. Blackwings are pretty good, which I do have a Blackwing deck that I'll show off later on. Don't really have time right now. Anyway, those are just a few suggestions. If you have any other suggestions, you can like leave them down the comments below. As I'll also be eventually I'll have the verse discussion in like a pinned comment for that, as well as the verse and inscription, and have everything else in the description, the thank yous, any other information that might be relevant, and also have a place where you can like promote your channel name if you want, and maybe subscribe if you want me to shout out your channel. Anyway, that'll be it. Hope you enjoy. Bye.